So we know about the famous designer houses like Dior, Dolce & Gabbana, Givenchy, of course Chanel, and so on and so forth. But what about those lesser known fashion houses and their designer fragrances? Well, this will be the first in another series that showcases lesser known designer houses. And we're going to be starting off with the House of Lancetti from Italy. Stay tuned. So I wanted to spare you the details of the history of Lancetti as a fashion house, Pino Lancetti, etc., as this information is readily available at your fingertips on the internet. There is plenty of information on Fragrantica, as well as Wikipedia. So without further ado, as they say in YouTube land, let's dive in. So this is the eldest of the crew. It is Lancetti UOMO. This came out in 1982, and it is an animalic leather with an aromatic top and heart. So what we have here is wormwood and lavender and galbanum and nutmeg and all sorts of great herbs and spices at the top, but it dries into oak moss, this very animalic base, which kind of reminds me a little bit of Animalis base, the same kind that you would find with Kouros, and also an ambery, leathery, labdanum, sandalwood dry down. It is phenomenal, and it is not very well known, not very well hyped, but it's also pretty scarce as well. This is a very difficult one to find. In fact, this one is a dabber, and I have not found any atomizer version of this. Wow, this is some powerful stuff. This is really something that will grow some hair on your chest for sure. The closest thing that I would compare this to, if you are familiar, would be the original Davidoff from 1984. This actually predates it by 2 years. So, for those of you who are really familiar with Davidoff, the original, that could have in fact have been an also ran for Lancetti UOMO. Then again, Lancetti UOMO could be an also ran for yet another fragrance. Something to ponder. Okay, next what we have here is Lancetti Il by Lancetti Eau de Toilette. And this was released in 1990. This is what we would call an amber fougere. Some of us want to move away from the term Oriental for various reasons. So what we can say is that this is a merging of an amber and a fougere. And it opens up very aromatic and fougere-like with green notes of lavender and anise. And it dries into some spicy florals and coriander, and it's aldehydic. It does have a base that does seem to have sandalwood, even though it is not mentioned in the notes pyramid. It does mention cedar, and it is mossy and musky. Some individuals have compared it actually to Chanel Egoiste. It isn't extremely similar to Egoiste, but it is sort of in the same sort of direction. It is quite lovely. I would say that the musk dry down may be similar, but it is worth checking out if you can find an affordable bottle. I found this 30 milliliter for 45 bucks. Okay, for this third one from 1993, we're going to be taking a dip into the lady pond because this one was marketed to females. This is Suspense from Lancetti, and this is arguably one of the best green scents that I've ever smelled that nobody has heard of. Lancetti Suspense is sort of in the same category to me as Safari, the original for her, Jean-Louis Cherrier. I would also compare it to maybe a little bit of like Chanel number 19 or Silences by Giacomo. But it has this honeyed narcissus quality to it, along with the hyacinth, and there is a whole smorgasbord of florals that are in the heart, including ylang-ylang and rose, and it dries down to wonderful, mossy, sandalwoody vetiver base. It's just, it's quite a wonderful scent. And once again, it is one of the lesser known greenies that I would highly recommend. That is Lancetti Suspense. Okay, what we have right here is one of my favorites from Lancetti. This is Monsieur from 1995. This is a citrusy chypre, and it dries down to this excellent labdanum note. It is really a much more resinous scent than you would be led to believe upon applying it. It really is under the radar. It is worth checking out. This is Lancetti Monsieur. It opens with petitgrain and lavender. It's very aromatic, and then it dries into this incredible labdanum note. And this is really impressive for the mid-90s. This is not something I would have expected from that time. It's woody, it's a bit coniferous as well. It's really worth checking out. That is Lancetti Monsieur. This is a really great one. So right here, what we have is Lancetti HOMME. This was released in 1999, and I would describe this as a resinous incense. So it opens with citruses like tangerine and grapefruit, dries into a heart of cinnamon, nutmeg, other spices, but really the outstanding aspect of Lancetti HOMME is in its base, which has tolu balsam, labdanum. It's woody, it's cedary, but there's that incense note, and it's really striking. I would rank it up there in quality with a Comme des Garçons incense, the incense series. This is another one that is really under the radar, and I'd highly recommend it if you can spot it. So what we have here is Via Condotti from Lancetti. This was released in 2001, and it is actually a fruity rose fragrance marketed to men. Who would have thunk it? It has a rose heart, and there's also heliotrope and a muguet note, and it dries to this very plush benzoin and vanilla and musk. It's almost a dandified kind of fragrance that wouldn't have been out of place if released from Penhaligon's. Really impressive stuff, and it's really worth checking out if you can find it for an affordable price. I got this 50 milliliter for under $40 plus shipping here in the US. It's really great stuff. This is the most recent one that I procured from Lancetti, so check it out. So last but not least, I have here ETRE HOMME from Lancetti. This was released in 2002. And this one here is quite striking, especially in its opening. There's these aldehydes and spices, a little bit of citrus, there's a carnation, and this tobacco as well that is sort of like, a cigarette tobacco. All the best aspects of the smell of cigarettes without the smoke. And wonderful, wonderful stuff. A good friend of mine actually recommended this to me and warned me that it would have middling performance, but I actually find it to work very well on my skin. It actually lasts for a good several hours, so maybe it's because I have an older formulation, who knows. The ingredients list isn't particularly long, so that could be the case. But it's really impressive. There is this olibanum note in the dry down, so once again, this is pretty incensey. Gorgeous stuff. So once again, yes, 2002's ETRE HOMME from Lancetti, not to be confused with ETRE FEMME, which also has the same bottle, which I'm not familiar with. ETRE HOMME, great stuff. All right, so let's also talk about how confusing it is to run through the catalog of Lancetti fragrances, because they weren't particularly creative with the names. I mean, let's talk about this. We have Lancetti UOMO, Lancetti Monsieur, Lancetti HOMME. Yeah, it can get kind of confusing. I just find that really amusing. So here's a fun fact. Lancetti HOMME was actually composed by Mark Buxton. Okay, so your question might be, where do I begin? What Lancetti fragrance do I start with? The easiest one to pick up would be Lancetti ETRE. This is the one that is the most affordable. You can get this for definitely under $25. Suspense will cost a little bit more, but it's still readily available. I would say you could get a 100 mil for maybe under 50 bucks as of this video. So this one might be the more difficult one to locate. However, if you do locate it, it's not gonna set you back too much, save for international shipping. For example, if you're here in North America, I did find this one from a Canadian seller for about $45 plus shipping. And I think it runs maybe around $45 to $70 as of this video, plus shipping depending on where you're purchasing it.
Ooh, pretty color.
Hi. Do you already own a Lancetti fragrance? Please let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe, like this video, and hit the bell button to receive notifications of new videos. As always, thank you for tuning in and be good to each other.